Well, I think we're all looking forward to tonight. We're looking forward to a chat. That is exactly what Leicester Fan TV is all about, to give you your time to have your views. Whatever it is, we'll always have our differences of opinion. We'll be able to call it as it is. And tonight's title is, we've gone for it, are you Cooper in or are you Cooper out? And I'm going to add to that, are you on the fence? Because I think there's people in all sides of the camp. So listen, go and grab yourself a nice cup of tea. We're going to settle in. We've got 29 minutes left to debate this. We want your views. We want your comments. What do you think to what's going on at Leicester City? There's no right answers and there's no wrong answers, but there's your views. Get them in now.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.
So, as I say, this is exactly what Leicester Fan TV is here for us all to have a chat about. I'll have my views, you'll have your views, Tom will have his views, Reedy will have his views, but we want to know what you think. Make sure you follow us at Leicester Fan TV on whatever channel you're on. And of course, that is the big debate. There's some people on the fence. There's some people being Cooper out since he even took over. There's people Cooper in. There's nothing right. There's nothing wrong. So let's get the comments in as fast as we can. Matty, good evening, Matty. Leicester board will always leave it too late. When's too late, Matty? Is it already too late, or what do you think? Ian the Super Fox says, Phil, Cooper out. Don't forget when we got relegated in May, we will get a points deduction for sure. And many years in the wilderness, and still fans feel Steve Cooper bad choice from the start. A lot of fans do feel Steve Cooper was the bad choice, the wrong choice. But again, I'm sure it's going to come up today is, who else was there? And who else is there now? If you were to get rid of Cooper, that's going to be a massive part of the debate tonight. If Steve Cooper was to go, who'd you bring in? And then the second part to that, how long do you give them? Because if you're only going to give Steve Cooper 10 or 11 games, how long are you going to give the next manager? Nick Moore says, after yesterday, I'm Cooper out. He was clueless and waited 70 minutes to make a sub. The players had no clue either, neither did Cooper. Moyes, in this international break, please, Leicester City. Nick, Moyes, I'm sure he was approached in the summer. Probably didn't want it. Does he want it now? Does he feel it's a better position? Daniel, Moyes and Potter will not come, so who else is there? Potter was definitely offered it in the summer, Daniel. He was offered it. He didn't take it. Was that the points deduction? We won't know. I thought we would sack him after that horrible loss to Man United in the FA Cup final. Not quite sure what that one means. I think you've lost the plot there a little bit. Liam says, I'm a big out. I haven't been keen from the beginning. And Liam, I understand that. A lot of people haven't. And I still haven't seen enough to change my mind. If anything, I'm convinced we should change now. Liam, I'm going to ask you, if you were to change Cooper, who'd you bring in? What's your logic? And how long do you give him for the next manager? Lots of people saying, get Rude in. He's a free agent. The councillor, good evening, says, topical debate, but fans need to get some perspective. Councillor, sir, give us some of your perspective. Are you Cooper in, Cooper out? I thought it was right, by the way, to have this debate today, because there is definitely plenty of people to have that debate. Now, I'm going to add Tom in, who is at another match tonight. He's supporting a different team tonight, Tom. Can you hear me? Yeah, where are you, Tom?
I can hear you. I'm down at my local club, Relegation United. It's the quarter-final versus Worcester City on the Worcestershire Cup. So I decided to venture that and come down here tonight. I mean, I've told Knight I'd be quite fine to get a couple of lads to come down as well. So just a different scene. Not quite Old Trafford.
Not quite Old Trafford, which is exactly where you were yesterday, Tom. I'm not going to keep you too long, Tom, because it's a little bit hard to hear you, but I do want to get your views in on the Cooper debate.
Yeah. Look, but I've been on from the start and I've always said I'll give him 10 games, see how he got on. and he's had 11 games now, plus the whole of pre-season. I'd always had that. He has had 5 months at his football club to try and do things. And sadly, after yesterday's performance, I'm on it now. And sadly, I'm Cooper out. I went to watch the debacle of the performance yesterday. Take nothing away. Man United didn't break a sweat yesterday to get 3 points. They didn't need to. Once again, more terrible defenders with 3 goals, more terrible plays going forward. No one without a 37-year-old. A 37-year-old Jamie Vardy, without him, he can't link up play going forward. That's quite scary to look into. And then to top it off at the end, Steve Cooper is to blame where he leaves substitutions till the 75th, 5th minute before he finally makes the substitution. I think yesterday, Matt Pye hit the nail on the head that it's starting to worry me and it's starting to worry a lot of fans that he doesn't seem to know practically what to do. He had 4 or 5 meetings in dugouts with his staff members. Worries me a bit. For a manager at this level, he shouldn't be asking his coaches. He should know what he should be doing and what he needs to change. And I'm just not convinced. The performances aren't there. There's no identity on the team. If you're going to say an identity, keeping ourselves in games that we can't do now because we conceded so many games. We've got 3 goals we conceded out of 4 games now. In the last 4 games, I think we conceded goals. It's not good enough, mate. And I'm sorry I've given them time, but the patience is gone. And for me, it's time to change before it's too late.
Tom, I'm going to let you go because the line is not great. I can hear you just.
Mate.
But thanks so much for clicking in. I'd love to ask you more questions, but I know you're watching the big game today, which is Reading.
Reading versus Worcester City, mate.
Worcester City. We'll enjoy that, Tom, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, mate.
All right, thanks.
Right.
Good to hear Tom's views. Again, we don't always agree, me and Tom, but it's always, that's what the whole point of this is to have a good chat. Scarlett says this, was at the game, and as much as it was Cooper at blame, but the back four definitely didn't help him. Why let it bounce? Talking about Victor Christensen there. I think that's a great question. I would have liked to ask Tom, and I think Reed is going to click in very, very shortly. I would have liked to ask people who are watching this. I think you can proportion a certain amount of blame to Steve Cooper. Of course you can. He's the manager. I was as disappointed as anybody that at 2-0 down yesterday, we didn't make positive changes. I said that during Enzo's reign. I said it through Brendan Rodgers' reign. I am old school, and if you're losing, I need to see a manager do something. Steve Cooper yesterday didn't do anything to impact that game and did look a bit clueless at that point. I'll give you that one. But I'm also going to say the players out on the pitch yesterday didn't do themselves any favours at all. So I don't think the squad is that good. A lot of fans I see say we're a mid-table, maybe even a top half squad. I genuinely, I have no issue saying I think our squad isn't that good. I think we are a squad that is in the bottom 6 of the Premier League. If you look at it, there aren't many players from Leicester who would get in many other teams, if you ask me. That's just my opinion. Cooper in, sitting 15th. Nothing has changed. We're in a relegation struggle. I am with, that's my opinion with Ivan. I've watched enough Leicester City over 40 years. I'm expecting a relegation battle this year, and that's what's panning out. It is a relegation battle. And that's why I ask people, if you were to get rid of Steve Cooper, who do you get in? Are they going to come in? What are they going to do? And how long are you going to give them? Because if you do get David Moyes in, you're going to give him 11 games, the same as you've given Steve Cooper. And if not, if you're going to give him more, I ask, why are you going to give him longer? Lee Clayton says Cooper needs to go before it's too late. What all the Cooper lovers saying now? Well, Lee, I'm certainly not a Cooper lover. But like you, Lee, I'm a Leicester lover. I love Leicester. You love Leicester. And I want what's best for Leicester. But I'm not sure it's quite the point to change the manager. I just think maybe give him 20 games and see where we're at there before the January transfer window. I'm going to get Reedy in now because Reedy was at the match yesterday. I watched it on telly. Reedy, you watched it there. Obviously, this is a big ongoing debate. And Craig says there, we all knew this season we were going to struggle and no manager wanted the job. Cooper wanted the job. We all need to get behind him. What's your comment there back to Craig?
I get the point of he was the only manager that wanted it, but I will say the fact of at that point, we didn't know what the point deduction was going to be like. We didn't know what was going to happen. And the big difference is now we know that's not happening. Some managers that we may have been looking at before, or even wanting to join, but because of the point deduction, now maybe they do want to come in and say, I've got a way higher chance in staying up with a team that's not getting a point deduction. But I get
So-
the point of a man that
So
he
that-
was the only one to bring
So
in the
you're
job.
talking about maybe Graham Potter.
Maybe so, but I'm not saying I want him now. I'm just saying that other managers or other candidates who were maybe interviewed beforehand maybe were like, I'm just not interested because of the point deduction looming. But obviously now we know it's not. So
But do you think they'll therefore then want to come?
maybe so, maybe
that's
so,
your
maybe
logic
not.
to.
I think that's maybe a reason why Graham Potter didn't want to join. As much as people are saying as well about he's getting paid by Chelsea still and whatnot, which could be a big,
Which he is.
Yeah,
He's
it
getting
probably
200
is.
grand a week,
But
reportedly, to be
there might be other managers that we interviewed, and
like.
maybe I couldn't name, but apparently there was
Hmm.
what I think someone said to me about 4 or 5 managers were interviewed, and
Didn't
maybe
want it.
yeah, and again, in my eyes, I think it was due to that point deduction maybe happening, and people were like, it just isn't worth my worth to try and keep them up with even more points taken off. So.
Yeah. Andrew says here, love him to bits, but we can't keep relying on a 37-year-old Vardy. Well, Andy, we are. That's what we started the season with. That was the plan at the start of the season. Edouard clearly not fancied, and Daka not back. Daka could be back and should be back for the Chelsea game we're hearing in there. Daniel says it's a poor squad and no new manager will change that this season. Again, myself and Reedy, we have lots of frank debates about it. Reedy, my opinion is our squad is a bottom 6 type of squad. I'm not seeing if some of the players, we've got some wild card players in my book, and I include in that Mavidide, Fatawa, Buenate, El Canous. Some of these players, wild cards, could come good, and if 2 or 3 of them come good, we could push up the table. But if over the last couple of games, all those wild card players have had a mixed bag of performances, and therefore we don't have a squad that is much better than a bottom 6 type of relegation battle, really. But I know you disagree with me on that.
I feel like we've got a lot of players who, under the right manager or system or whatnot, could flourish and actually start looking like quite a good team. We've seen, we've seen moments in the game where we have looked decent on the ball. I think, but against Man United in the cup game, we looked better playing with the ball, showing how well we can play with the ball. Yet we lost 5-2, 5-3. Again, against Man United yesterday, we looked worse than that, and we had our full lineup out. It just shows you we played better with a B team than our full nearly near enough full strength team. So at times we've looked good, but it's not consistent. It's not a 90-minute performance, and maybe you can't get a 90-minute performance in a Premier League game because it's so hard. But I think there's a bigger picture for me than people can just say it's 15th place. We're not in a relegation zone. But I will state that maybe the likes of Palace, maybe the likes of Wolves have had harder games than us in the first 10. And now it's switched. We have the harder games in these next 10, and they probably will have the easier fixtures. And the table will start to collide and we will go further down. Hopefully not. Hopefully we will win some of these games coming up. But I feel like that's where, for me, the 15th place is a bit of a deceiving spot. I don't think that is a reason to be reassured or convinced that we're going to be okay.
And you see, I understand that when Reedy says that and people watching this, but, and I have to say, but we are in 15th and you're trying to predict the future.
Maybe so.
You don't know the future.
No.
If I said, right, we give him 9 more games till the January the 4th game when it's Aston Villa and see where we're at there, or even give him 5 more games, you literally, and I can't predict, you can guess and I can guess, but when we've got, sort of Chelsea next and Wolves next and West Ham next, you're guessing that he's going to fail, and I'm just saying I don't know if he's going to fail yet because so far is where we are. And I hear what you're saying. Other teams have had easier games, harder games. I think the Premier League showing this season there is no easy games.
I think
anybody
the
can
reason
beat anybody to a level.
I think the reason I'm predicting where we will be within 20 games is because of what I've seen so far. I think Tom's on the same side of me, and I'm very surprised. A lot of people who I thought was more on the other side after this United game yesterday have kind of not seen the light, because there's no like right or wrong answer, but have changed their opinion because of what they saw yesterday. And for me, from what I've seen through the first 10 games or 11 games now and pre-season, I still can't see a system. I still can't see any style of play and how we hold the ball and play with the ball or pass the ball. And I just don't see. I don't see where the progression is. Again, Cooper said in the
What do
first
you
couple
mean?
of games
What
where.
can I ask? What do you
Go
mean
on.
by progression, Reedy?
Well, Cooper in the first couple of games was saying, well, obviously we're not 100% yet, but we will get better. We will improve. And I honestly do feel like we've not got better. We haven't. I feel like with the wins we have got, in my honest opinion, Bournemouth, I don't think we deserve to win over the 90. We got one goal, and the second half we got absolutely demolished, but they just couldn't finish. Southampton, honestly, I don't. Other than the red card, which obviously did happen, and people say, well, it did happen, so it obviously happened. But I don't think we would have got much out of the game if that situation didn't happen. And then the Ipswich game, I don't think we deserved absolutely anything out of the game. And we somehow got a draw because the moment the red card went, they sat back and we went for it. So again, I'm not saying we didn't deserve any points, but I'm guessing you will mention the Palace game where we could have had 3 points, but we made an error ourselves. I get that, but from what I've seen over the games in pre-season and now, I don't see where we can get the points in the next couple of games. I can't. With Cooper in charge. Sorry.
The council says our squad is a very good championship squad. Yes, it'd be too good for the championship, as we showed last year. But if we can get to the final game of the season with a chance to stay up, that is success this season in there. By the way, everybody who's on Facebook tonight, this isn't our fault. This is a tech problem with StreamYard. It's not showing who's saying these comments. So I do apologise. If in the comments you can put your name at the end, then I can give you a name shout. Because without that, I'm just having to put it up like this. So if you're watching on Facebook, do put your name at the end of the comments, please. Edward signing is pointless. Vardy injured. Play out an out striker, yet clueless Cooper plays 20-touch Ayew, who is more of a wide man. Although I would say Ayew's played plenty of times before for Palace up front in there. Elliot says we've been so bad defensively and we have not recruited well and enough defensively. Our centre-backs are terrible, and this needs to change. A couple of bits, really, just to react. You did say you didn't think we should have beat Bournemouth, but we did. You didn't think we should have got a draw against Ipswich, but we did. We shouldn't have been. I get that. We shouldn't have lost against, shouldn't have got the draw against Palace, as you say, and we could have not easily, but we could have got a draw against Villa in those dying moments. So football is full of it, buts and maybes, as is life. You know, I could have done that when I was 25 and that would have changed the rest of my life. I didn't. I did what I did. And we are where we are. At the moment, we're on 10 points and we're 15th. And that's sort of my logic and sort of question at the moment about Cooper in or Cooper out, which, you know, we will ask people at the end to put their names down and say what they're at. But again, we had this debate earlier today. If you get rid of Cooper today or in this international break, who do you bring in?
This is the question that everyone would ask if you say the word Cooper out. Like, I get the point of who do you bring in. There's many names that you could string off, but I don't know who could come in that can do worse in my eyes. I honestly don't. I'm not saying that Cooper's the worst manager possible. I'm just saying that.
Well, I'm going to pick you up.
It.
You've just said who could do worse. Well, at the moment, Gary O'Neill at Wolves is doing worse. You know, Sean Dyche is doing worse at Everton. Then you've got you've got 5
but I'd
teams
say
they
played harder games, so now they'll have the easy games, and you can already see after the Ipswich win yesterday, or Wolves got a win against Southampton, you can already see the gap closing in on us, and that's where for me, these next 10 games or 9 games now, I honestly, again, this is me predicting it, but from what I've seen already, where is these points coming from? And if we're not getting the points and the other teams are, Again, we might beat Chelsea. We might get a win against West Ham or Wolves. But the likes of West Ham and Wolves, what I've seen already against the teams around us already in Ipswich, Southampton. Yes, we beat Southampton. On another day, we didn't. But we haven't shown that we can dominate or be the better team in a game and win the game convincingly all season for me.
No,
And that's where
I agree.
I feel like we, even if it's not about the
Mm.
tactically settle, I just feel like we need someone fresh to come in and see if they can push the players on, because I honestly don't think we're utilising these players enough. I honestly don't.
And that's the debate. Again, a Facebook user, sorry I can't give you a name check, do write your name at the end, says, I don't know if Cooper is the problem or the players just aren't good enough. Something has to change. Again, my opinion of the players, really, is, you know, I really like Leicester, love Leicester. I ask people like you, and I ask people who are watching this, and I'm just being honest. I look at a lot of the Leicester players and I go, genuinely, how many of those would get in many of the teams who are above us starting 11? And you don't see Fatah week in, week out be consistent. He does some decent stuff. I know yesterday, Reedy, he had 2 or 3 men mark him, but he made a lot of the wrong choices when he got the ball he tried to take people on. Shooting from the halfway line, it's about the 4th time he's tried it this season, Reedy. Fatah is an exciting prospect, as is Buenati, dribbling out his box again yesterday. Victor Christensen, I quite like the guy, but what's he doing not clearing the ball? I've watched Wout Fires mess it up. I've watched Cody mess it up. Ricardo Pereira's, injured, and he hasn't been that. I don't think he's been that great. I genuinely go, Hermansen would probably get in quite a few of the Premier League sides. And then I'm honestly, Reedy, who else in the squad? Maybe Winks. But Winks hasn't been all that all season. No players are like exactly helping us out with the situation of being consistently good, are they?
I think the first thing you mentioned about what players can fit into teams, if I'm totally honest, and this is just coming from how well they've done and showing how they're playing or how the system is for them to work. Forest are what, 4th, 5th, or maybe even 3rd?
Fifth now.
Like I say, their team, for me, like last year, were struggling to stay up. They were. Like that's what I'm saying. And now they've got a manager who who's got the thoughts and the style of play and the tactically sound head to know what he's doing. They're thriving with players who were like close to relegation last season. For me, yes, maybe not. Maybe a lot of our players won't get into the top teams, or maybe
they won't get into the middle teams, Reedy.
Maybe not. But you've got to get a good manager who has the system and the philosophy to know what he wants to do. I can't comment on the Enzo system, but that style of play, he had a way of playing the passage from the centre back to Winks to come back. There was always a reason for it. People saw it was boring, but there was a reason for it to make opponents come onto you, for them to open space up. For me, this season, it just doesn't look like we're doing anything. He's putting 11 players out there and
that
just
system
asking
works.
them to go pass it around.
But that system worked last season in the Championship.
Oh, I know that. I know it's Championship. I'm just saying, that for me is a system.
Not in the Championship anymore.
No, I know.
The game yesterday showed you, I thought, 2 teams who were fairly level. I don't think Man United were that good, but they had moments of class, and they've got players that are far exceed our players.
Yeah, I get it.
Bruno Fernandes with that first goal and how he controlled it, and even Christian Eriksen when he came on and stroked the ball around. They're just another level. It's not.
I'm not saying Cooper,
Rotherham and Bristol City and even Leeds away or whatever last year. It's a completely different level this season.
I'm not saying it was who we were playing or why we were winning games because of the system. I'm just saying that system that Enzo drilled into us was what is kind of what I want for us as a team. Not the same style, but
David Moyes isn't going to come in and do that, really.
Well, maybe not. I don't want David Moyes. I want.
Well, who do you want?
like for me, someone like Corberán, I know people are going to say yes, he's championship. I get that,
Fifth. He's
but
fifth in the championship.
he's got a championship side. For us, I'd say we have a lower Premier League side, but we need someone who has the knowledge to make a team click or make it work. And for me, it just isn't there with Cooper. I just don't think he's got, like, I'll give you the example of the first 7 games he played his kind of style of football. And then when he got to that Forest game, what happened? Did the players go to Cooper and say, we're not happy with this football, we want to go back to the Enzo style of football? And we did in that first half again. I think we did in the second half against Southampton when we went 3 at the back. But that first game against the first half against Forest, we looked good. We did. It looked decent, but errors cost us. And then ever since then, it's been errors constantly. But what happened there? Did Cooper go, my style's not working, let's go back to what you did last season? But it showed the moment he started doing it, because we started playing well against Forest. So I don't know if Cooper just hasn't got the technical ability to run a team that well, or is it the players are getting fed up with being a bit more defensive and want to be a bit more possession based? I don't know, but it's hard because I don't know who to bring in. But I just think we need a fresh look on the team, a fresh manager to see what they can do with it. And I think we can thrive with the players we've got as a team. We won the Premier League with a bunch of nobodies in a way. Like, we've got £20 million worth of players where we won the league. It's not impossible to beat teams like Man United. And I'm not saying this because we lost to Man United, so I'm now Cooper out. I'm saying from what I've seen so far, that Man United game just kind of made me go over the fence and go, this is just not good enough anymore.
Yeah, it's a very interesting debate, and we want as many people's views and comments in. Don't forget, if you're on Facebook, you need to put your name with it. This Facebook user said, Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United, Forest in the top 4, Fulham. The other teams around us have taken points off them. No easy games in the Premier League. A few people talking about Mark Robbins. I'm like, again, he's Scott. He's just never. I mean, I know Scott's saying his concern, and a few people have said, like Michael said here, Robbins. I'm just like, really? You want a guy who, albeit did well for Coventry 8 seasons and got them from League 2 to League 1 to the Championship, just got no clue about the Championship. Sorry, about the Premier League. He's just been sacked from Coventry. I'm like, wow, you know. And again, I hear you say Corberán. He's got West Brom to the mighty.
I'm not saying I'm not saying it's about who he's managing at the moment. I'm saying about his system, his style of play. Again, Company went from Burnley, who got relegated, to Bayern Munich. It's the style of play that clubs want to see, or how they want to address it. It's not about who it is. It's about what their plan or philosophy is in the game. That's what I'm saying, and I don't think Cooper's even got a philosophy at all. He's just,
I am for no point, and I've said this week in, week out, I'm not Steve Cooper's biggest fan. I'm not saying that. I'm just like, again, maybe it comes from running a business and doing stuff. I'm sometimes like, you know, you've got to. I appreciate there is times where you have to cut your leg off, as they say. You have to make that decision. With Brendan Rodgers, for me, we left it far too late. I think we could all see it for almost 18 months. And that season we got relegated, the club left it far, far too late that time. I actually think we went too early when it was Claudio Ranieri. Who knows? But I do think there is a right time for it. I'm 11 games in, and I'm sort of like, you know, I can say not Steve Cooper's biggest fan, but I'm also like, I'm prepared to give him another few games to see how it pans out. Because just like you, Reedy, this could happen or that could happen. I don't know. But again,
I feel like 20 games in might be a bit too late though for me.
I would say get rid of a man. If you're going to get rid of a manager, you need to give them the January transfer window.
It's a bit tight. It's a bit tight.
Well, as in the new manager, a couple of players. Yeah.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
That's why I say if I was going to get rid of Cooper, I would do it in time for a manager right at the start of January to go and see where he is, and then all this if what maybes, we would just see what happens.
I get what people are saying on the Cooper inside, I do, but I think it might be my thoughts on what I want to see. I think I prefer to see better football or a better performance, and if it doesn't mean a result, then fair enough. But I think for
I just
me,
want the
we just
results, really. I just want
yeah,
results.
and I can't, and at the moment, I'm not even seeing that in my eyes. I honestly can't. We're not performing well enough to even get a result, even if it is a scrappy win. I honestly can't see it. I honestly
Well,
can't.
but we have had some scrappy wins, Reedy. That's exactly we
No, I
have
know.
had
I know
scrap.
we have had some scrappy wins,
Yeah.
but we should again. We a lot of people have been saying we need to beat the teams around us. We've only beat Southampton, and for me, that was only because of that red card. The rest of them we drew after playing poorly. We didn't play well against Everton, but they were the better team. Ipswich, they were the better team. People might say we're not as good as them, but if you want to stay up in the league, you have to perform better than them. That's the simple thing about it. And at the moment, from what I've seen out of them sort of games, I can't see us beating Wolves or West Ham. And that we might do it, but from what I've seen, I don't think it's enough.
So I'm going to ask this to everybody, but obviously Reedy's on camera, so he'll have a go at answering it. So again, we've talked about who it could be, in your opinion, and like you say, you haven't got a set one. So, and again, this is partly what I'm interested in, is because you have to have a plan, whether it's a business you run, whether it's a painters and decorators in Leicester, or a chip shop, or a pub, or whatever, or a football club in the Premier League. You've got to have some sort of plan. If you're deciding that you're going to get rid of a manager, you've got to get somebody to come in. So I get it. You haven't got a defined one, and I'm seeing in the comments behind all sorts of names. I don't see one name where everybody says that's the guy. So if you're watching this, put in the comments who your guy is. If you were to get rid of Cooper, who's your guy? Let's get that one out there. But Reedy, and again, we've had this discussion already today. If it's Moyes, if it's Potter, if it's Corberan, if it's Mark Robbins, if it's Ruud van Nistelrooy, if it's the guy from Loughborough Dynamo, whoever you put in charge, you're going to give them the same chance you've given Steve Cooper.
See,
Correct?
this is where I'm like,
You're going to give him 11 games, and
yes.
and so you'll give the new manager 11 games, and then if we're 15th or lower, you're going to sack him.
Well, there's two sides to that. First of
Well,
all,
there
you
is,
have
but you've given Steve Cooper 11 Premier League games.
yes,
So I assume you'll give the
and
new
that's
manager 11 games.
and that's 11 games, including a lot of the teams around us at this time.
No, it's 11 games with 15th, really. That's
Because the next 11 games are 5 times harder than they have been in the first 10. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll give him at least 11 games to see how he does. It might be longer because then he has a few extra games to try and bring the points back.
So how many games? Right, look at the fixtures. If you want to do it that way, look at the fixtures. How many games will you give a new manager if they start this week?
For me, it depends on the performance.
No. You have to give them a target. You have to give them a results target.
Okay.
The work
Okay.
has to be to a level.
In the next 10 games, if we did get rid of the manager now, I'd be asking for at least 10 points. At least. I can't see that with Cooper. I can't.
So if he didn't get 10 points, then you'd want whoever came in next out of 10 games, you'd want to fire him.
I wouldn't say firing because it all depends on how we're performing. If we're giving teams a good game, if we're giving Chelsea, if we're giving Man City a good game, but we're losing because they're just better than us, then fair enough. But we do need to pick up points against Chelsea. We do need to pick up points against Villa. We do. Otherwise, we're not going to stay up because we've already lost a lot of points in the first 10 games to get teams we should be getting more points out of, in my opinion. That's where instead of 10 points in the first 10, and people are saying that's 1 point a game, I get that. But against Ipswich, if you got 3 points and you beat Palace like we should have, we would have had 16 points, and then we wouldn't have needed to get as many points in these next 10 to combat that. If we only got 5 points, then you'd say that's fair enough because it's a lot harder games for us. That's where I'm seeing it. And as much as I was like, I'm okay with 10 points, but looking at the next 10, it's like, okay, this is going to be a very hard challenge to get another 10.
Ross says it, until Leicester announced the departure of Steve Cooper, we have to just get used to Steve Cooper. I don't think, Ross, a lot of fans just haven't accepted Steve Cooper from day one and don't want him to be there. Forest Fan TV, good evening, says should have listened to my warnings on Cooper in there. And I keep saying it, I'm not Steve Cooper's biggest fan, but we kind of are. We just are where we are as a football club, and we've sort of got to, in my opinion. I can't come back much further than that, really. If you're only going to give a manager 11 games, then I assume you're only going to give the next manager the same sort of period. And then when does this cycle end?
I get that point, but for me, it's more about he has got harder. If Cooper goes now, he will have a harder challenge because he's got the next 10 games to come, which are harder. And for me, it's down to how we play, because from what we've seen already, it's not good enough. But if we've seen decent stuff in the next 10, even if we do lose, you'd maybe give him a bit more chance, because then after them next 10 games, he will have a few more easy games coming up. That's what I'm seeing. It's not all about if I give this guy this long, I'm giving that guy that long. It all depends on how he performs. And from what I've seen of Cooper, I've seen enough to be like, I'm not happy with this now.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's a really, really interesting conversation. Somebody on Facebook say, listening to this conversation, exactly the reason you watch the game, don't play or manage at this high level. I'd give them the next manager 10 games. So he's saying if you get a new manager in now, you give him 10 games in there. Nick says, it'll be Cooper out and Enzo is a Judas at the Chelsea game. Yeah, people won't be fans for anybody in there. Scott says, with Cooper over the next 10 games, how many points are we getting? Well, 10 games would take us through to
You said
not only
14 points.
Yeah, in no particular order. I've just got a sneaking feeling that we could get something against Chelsea, but that's down to some of it. I mean, the Chelsea game, just without getting too much into how many over the next 10 games, I'm not dodging the question. I've done a video on it. I just think the Chelsea game's an interesting one because I think at times, really, I buy into what you're saying, that the players are better than I think they are. But I watched yesterday's game. The players have got to carry the can in the end. I can blame Steve Cooper for not making subs and how he set them up. But in the end, I look at the players on the pitch and I say, I'm not sure yesterday I saw any bottle or fight in it. So if the fans turn up and back the lads against Chelsea and make some noise, and if the players on the pitch give it some, and if Steve Cooper gets it right, who knows what could happen? As Ipswich did at Spurs, these things can happen in there. It's just, I'm just a bit like, people can have ropey starts. You're way too young to remember Martin O'Neill, Reedy. Way, way too young. I'm talking 20 years before you were born. But Martin O'Neill came in, and again, I know you never saw him manage, but for many people my age, Martin O'Neill is up there as one of the best managers Leicester City's ever had. And yet, early into his time at Leicester, and I don't know exactly how many games, but it was certainly, I think, within the first 10 games, Leicester fans stopped in at Filbert Street, and they stood in pen 3 and 4, the old standing areas, and they were literally, after the match, they wouldn't move, they wouldn't go home, because they wanted Martin O'Neill sacked. I know I wasn't stood in the pens, I wasn't part of that, but I was steward in one of the stands, and we all had to stay late and like steward it for an hour. So those fans wanted the manager out. They were like, it ain't good enough. There's some similarities with Cooper to an extent that he was ex-Forest, Martin O'Neill, and I don't know, just fans didn't take to him to start with. But, they stuck with him, and he turned into become one of the best managers. And I'd almost say that for people at work, people can start and have a rocky start to a career, whatever job it is. And sometimes you just got to give them a little bit longer, because I buy into what you're saying, Reedy. We may lose against them. We may not do it. You may be right. You probably are right, Reedy. You probably are. I guess what I am is I'm willing to give a bit more faith and a bit more time to a guy who's Rudkin and Whelan would have said to him, if you get us 15th this season, we'll absolutely pay you a bonus, mate, because that's all we need to do. And I'm sort of like, while we're still in that position, and the Wolves haven't sacked their manager, Southampton haven't sacked their manager, Everton haven't, 5 teams below us are not sacking their manager. I get it. Maybe our games have been easier. Maybe they're going to be harder. Maybe we'll lose to Chelsea. Maybe we'll lose to you know, Wolves, there will come a point where I'm with you, but I guess I'm just like, I'm still there to give the guy a chance, because if not, you're going to get another manager in, give him 10 games, however long you want to decide you're going to give him before you say you can do one, mate. I just think we've got to give people just a little bit of time. You've given Daka 3 years and he ain't come good. You've given Sumari 3 years and maybe he is coming good, Reedy. It takes people some time in whatever career
I get it.
we want to be in. A football manager in the Premier League has probably the shortest shelf life ever. I don't know. Well, no.
I think
Before we end, Reedy, I'll let you have a say,
Go on.
because I've just blathered on there. Before we go, I want everybody who's watching this, there's loads of people to watch this. If you can, give us a like if you're on Facebook and a share. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, because Leicester Fan TV is all about allowing different people's views. But most of all, before we go, put in the comments whether you're Cooper in, Cooper out, or on the fence. 3 things. And if you're on Facebook, put your name at the end. So Cooper in, Cooper out, on the fence. Reedy, you were going to say.
I was just mentioning that I think out of everything we've said tonight, I think a football is like a game of chess. Who is the better player at that? Again, you might have the better players, you might have the better club or the bigger club, but for me, it's about who's better at playing the game, and that is about the system, the style, the tactics. And as of now, Cooper's not been as good as everyone who's played against him. Again, that's my point on it. I'm not saying that we should have beaten Man United. I'm not. I just feel like he's not better than most managers in the league, and that's where we need to change it. That's my point. And on the second note is I'm Cooper out.
Yeah, you're Cooper out. Scott says, how will sacking Cooper affect our January transfer business in there? Scott, I don't think the managers have that much say in who we sign. It's all done by John Rudkin. So if we get a bad buy, you can blame John Rudkin. If we get a good buy, you can thank John Rudkin. That's effectively how Leicester is run. Most clubs are like it now. Cooper out, Rob out for the moment. Cooper in, says Wayne. Scott's Cooper out. Ross says, so Reedy, why would he support Villa if he couldn't support Leicester? Does that make sense to you, Ross?
Yes, somebody interviewed me and I said if I didn't like Leicester, who would support? I had to give an answer, so I just said Villa.
You didn't have to give an answer. The answer there is only Leicester. Facebook user Cooper out. Thanks, Nick Ball. Cooper in, out, shake it all about, on the fence, but tipping into Cooper out, still backing him. Cooper in. Loads. Keep all those comments coming in there. We've got lots in. I'd say more out than in now. I would definitely say more out than in. Keith says in. Somebody in Facebook says in. On the fence, Aggie. Thanks, Aggie, for that. In, says the councillor. Jane says in. Cooper in, but I'm on the fence. She's like, I'm in, but she's going like this. She's lovely. Mount says out. I'm Cooper out now. Cooper out now, says Ian the Fox. On the fence, Cooper out. I mean, listen, you can read it in the comments in there.
I think if you put a poll out there, from what the comments are saying, I'd say it's probably about 75-25 from what I've seen. I think there's a lot more outers than inners.
I think it's a little bit closer, but I think there is more outs than in. Forest Fan TV says, Phil, what will it take for you to be Cooper out? If he loses the next 5, what will you say? I'd probably say Cooper out. And that's what I'm saying. But it's a great question. What would you say after the next 5 games if we lose them all? Cooper out. But what if we go and win 3 out of the next 5? We don't know.
We all want that. We all want that to happen. We all want to be winning games.
Yeah, of course we do.
But from what we've seen, I can't see it happening. I'm not saying it will happen. I can't see it, and that's where the line goes for me. We need something to change for it to hopefully give us a bit more of a chance to get these wins.
Really, I hear you. I didn't believe we'd win the league either, but it happened. Things can happen. Normally, miracles don't happen. Occasionally, they do. My honest is, I don't know what's going to happen over the next 5 or 10 games. I'm just at the position now where I'm willing to stick at the table a bit longer and see where it goes, because at some point you might have to chop and change and do it. And like I've said earlier, if you're going to make the chop, I'd make it before the January transfer window to give somebody the chance to entice somebody in there. But
Yeah.
it's a great debate. We had to have it tonight because of what happened yesterday, I think, Reedy. Again, I've watched Leicester 45 years. I think we've won twice at Old Trafford in those 45 years. So I didn't really expect any more. And I certainly didn't by what Cooper did. And I didn't expect by the attitude of some of the players on the pitch. Victor Christensen defending it's twice we've said it in the last couple of weeks. Sunday League defending. Victor Christensen. Absolutely.
Santa's available after Christmas.
Absolutely. Schoolboy, Sunday League, pub level defending to give them the goal. If it's one thing at Old Trafford you don't want to do is do something stupid like that. We did it the other week with Wout Faes. When we're making these mistakes, it's a hard game. I would think Cooper's pulling his hair out. Maybe not surprised at times. He doesn't know what he's doing.
What hair?
Yeah. Hey, don't have a go about hair. I'm making me pull my hair out there. Unfortunately, I think Cooper out. I don't feel he has the answers, says Jono in there. Ross says, rule number 1 in football, do not let the ball bounce. It's Ross, trust me, I just think we've seen Wout Faes do it. We've seen Victor Christensen do it. By the way, we didn't really dissect the game really because the corners were rubbish. Mm-hmm. The free kick in the second half was just embarrassing. Now, I can blame Steve Cooper for that, but I can also blame multimillionaire footballers who get paid 50 to 100 grand a week to go, what the hell are you doing where you can't take a corner, where you take that free kick? I'm like, we didn't look very good at times, and that's just what's going on the pitch.
Substitutions yesterday were woeful.
Yeah, well, I agree.
You're 2-0 down and you don't bring your striker on to the 87th minute.
Yeah, well, he obviously doesn't rate Edouard.
Well, there's no point bringing him on at 3-0, is there?
Well, I agree. There's no point buying him because people don't seem to rate him. But again, you have to remember, Crystal Palace don't rate Edouard. That's why they've loaned him out to us because they don't think he's good enough for them. And they're a bottom half table in the Premier League. The same with Ayew. The same, Buonatti, Brighton don't fancy him this season. They know he's not the finished article. They don't want to sell him, but they know, again, dribbling out his own box reading. There's lots of issues at the club, but I'll go, hang on. I never expected us to be doing any better than bottom 6 this season. Next season, if we stay up, I want more, but this season is survival. Anyway, Reedy, it's been great to have a debate.
Yeah.
You're as right as I'm wrong. And I'm right as you're wrong. Who knows?
I'm hoping wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we stop winning games. But I'm just looking from what I've seen. That's all.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I think you're right. I'm just like, I'm prepared to give him a few more games and see where it goes before I say he has to go. Brendan Rodgers, I think fans called it at the right time. I think we called it earlier than the club. They left it too long. But it's been a long time since we've only given a manager 11 games. I go back to Gary Megson, Souzo. There's been a couple over the times, but not many. It's rare to have this reading. I'm not hearing a concise plan B from anybody.
Yeah. Oh,
20 minutes over, it's really being played overtime. Flip me. Should we start the debate on whether Reedy should get the sack or not? Of course not. We love Reedy.
I'm too good at my job.
He's too good
at my job.
He's too good. Somebody says Martin Allen, had 4 games. That's right, he did. He wasn't in there. And Gary Megson was another quick one that went. Sometimes you have to do it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with the club. I don't expect they will do it, Reedy, by the way, which is a different debate. I don't think we will get rid of Steve Cooper before the next game.
If it was to happen, it'd be perfect timing now. That's all I would say, because he's got 2 weeks to refresh it. That's all. If not, then don't. But
John Taylor says, how long did Paulo Sousa get? I think he had 7 games, John. I'll have to check my stats. That's off my memory. He had 7 games, but we did have Sven-Goran Eriksson, RIP, waiting in the wings. That's why we got rid of Sousa, because we had a big name to come in. And I get it. If we got a big name to come in now, maybe you'd do it. But it's an interesting one. Sousa had 9 games, says Ross. Thank you. I thought he had 7. It wasn't very many. It was less than this anyway. Thanks, Reedy, for joining us. Thanks for all your views, and thanks everybody who's given their comments in. It's been a really, really lively debate, as we expected it would be. As ever, if you can drop us a like, we would really appreciate it. If you can follow us wherever you are at Leicester Fan TV on all the socials. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a subscribe. Like I say, Leicester Fan TV is all about getting different fans on, different views, and having a good, honest debate and listening to each other. And that's what I hope we've done tonight, Reedy.
Hopefully.
I hope so. I think we
No,
have.
you have. You gave me your view, but you've understood what I've been saying. So it's all
I do understand you. I keep saying this. I'm not a Cooper lover, but I guess I like to give people a fair stab, a fair crack at the whip before I get rid of them. That's
like
how
me,
I like to.
like me.
It took a while, Reedy, but you've come good, lad. I'll see you later.
See you in a bit.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll let Reedy go. That's what it's all about. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Again, social media, and which we're part of, can be a lively place. I'd like to say, everybody, have a listen to other people's views, debate it with them, but accept not everybody agrees the same as you. And as we always used to say, uptown in Brannigans, we're all Leicester. So remember that, we're all Leicester, we're all on the same side, we all want the same thing. Keep it up and keep watching Leicester Fan TV. I'll see you next week. Don't forget, you can join Simon on Thursday.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.